Hello everyone! Today I'm going to be doing a video that I haven't done in quite a while, and that's a then now later update. So for those who are, new subscribers, or to those who are just checking in, these are basically videos for me to sort of update you guys on the pertinent books that I've read, the films that I've seen, what I'm currently reading, and then what I plan to read, or what films I plan to view in the future. So a bit of update on that. And I've kind of fallen out of doing these type of videos, but lately I've been reading books that I've adored, seeing films that have really impacted me. So I thought I just want to share them. So yeah, let's start off with the then portion. In terms of books, I'm sure if you follow my Instagram, you already are sick of hearing me talk about this series, but that is the Books of Babel series. Now, I had Senlin Ascends. If you saw my TBR bookshelf tour, you would have seen that I had Senlin Ascends, and I decided to finally read it, and I was immediately hooked. For those who don't know, this is a sort of fantasy series, but it's very much a steampunk fantasy type of series. We're following a mild-mannered professor, this sort of uptight, schmucky type of man named Thomas Senlin, who is journeying to the Tower of Babel with his new wife, Maria, on their honeymoon. And before they even enter the tower, the two of them get separated, and it's basically his journey trying to reunite with his wife. So what I really appreciate about this series, or this book in particular, is just that this isn't a very grand, epic fantasy. This isn't about, warring nations. This isn't about a prophecy. This is literally about a schmuck who is out of his depth trying to get to his wife, trying to get her back. And I don't know, I really like the use of the everyman character in Thomas Senlin and his sort of relatable journey, just trying to reunite with a lost loved one. So yeah, Senlin Ascends was just a fantastic book. Definitely not one that's gonna be for everyone. Like I said, if the whole steampunk aesthetic doesn't appeal to you, I don't know, or it turns you off, you might not enjoy it. It does get weird because it is definitely a world that is not conventional. It is quite strange, very strange. I definitely see how someone would compare this to the Mirror Visitor Quartet, that I also really adore. The two are, I do see similarities, I'm not gonna lie, with how just odd and outlandish the world is. Although I do think the world of Senlin Ascends, of the Books of Babel, is a bit more odd, I'm not gonna lie. So I did read Senlin Ascends and really enjoyed it, and then I read Arm of the Sphinx. And I'm not going to explain to you what happens in this book because it's going to spoil what happens in the first one, but I will say at the end of it, I got such an anxiety spike that I could not sleep until 3 a.m. So as of right now, I am trying to put off the third book. Like, I'm trying to put as much distance between this and the third book as much as possible because I am scared. Like, I am legitimately nervous to see what happens in the two last books, and I'm putting them off. So yeah, thank you, Bancroft, for that. Thank you for that really nice anxiety spike that I had to endure. But yeah, I love the first two books, and I'm pretty convinced that this is going to be a favorite series. I'm pretty sure. I could tell. But yeah, I'm terrified and petrified of the Hot King. So I'm keeping my distance for right now. But yeah, highly recommend, at least give it a try, Senlin Ascends, to see if you're gonna enjoy it. With regards to film, I do have to mention The Man Who Laughs First. This is a 1928 silent film starring the great Conrad Veidt, and this was just an absolute treat to have finally seen. This is based off of the Victor Hugo novel of the same name, and we're following a man named Gwynplaine in the 18th century. His father was a nobleman, but was sentenced to death for treachery. And as further punishment, Gwynplaine, the son, was, disfigured. He had a grin carved into his face. And, he has grown up as sort of this sideshow attraction. And, we're following how he's, fallen in love with this young woman named Dia, this blind girl named Dia, who has grown up with his entire life. And it's very much a film that kind of pokes at, aristocracy and class. And But, aside from all of that, what I really appreciated about this film was seeing it really influenced by German Expressionism. This is a universal picture, I believe, but you can see how German Expressionism had influenced it. The director worked on Waxworks. I think that was his previous film before this, and he was very much in the German Expressionism film scene. And I also really love, of course, Conrad Veidt. Like, his performance in this was just amazing. He had to wear a prosthetic that, kept that grin. So it's basically the eyes that are just working. And oh God, the way the man was just able to emote just using this, just absolutely brilliant. You can really see the range of emotions that are just coming forth from his eyes. And he sells such this amazing performance. And it's not just the eyes, but the way he carries his body, the way he can make himself just feel small and scared and insecure. This is just an amazing film. Lastly, I have to talk about Lost Highway by David Lynch. This is a film that came out in 1997, and it just blew me away when I saw it. I don't want to describe the plot, because I do feel like you ought to go into this blind. But it is a neo-noir film, but what makes it so special is just the way that it's structured, the way that Lynch decided to tell the story. I never in a million years would have imagined a story like this structured in a way that Lynch did. Never. My brain just does not work that way. But Lynch, I think, just pulled it off. And yes, it's a neo-noir film, but it is a very psychological film. Very psychological film. And you would assume with a film like that, there would be some dialogue, sort of like explaining sort of what's going on, maybe explaining some concepts. But it's very much a pure visual medium, pure visual psychological film. And I am just incredibly impressed with what he accomplished with this. Yeah, this was just a downright moving experience. Like, that first part, this first 1/3 of this film just like really got under my skin. And the tension was just amping up as, time was going on. I wouldn't recommend this as your first Lynch, but check out Lost Highway, because you're definitely going to be in for a ride. And it's definitely one of those films that you watch it and you want to discuss it with other people, watch a video essay on it. Yeah, this was just another 5-star film for me, along with, The Man Who Laughs. Just amazing films that I saw. Moving on to the now portion of the video, I am currently reading The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. I think it's safe to say that it's regarded as her most popular, her most well-known novel. It won the Pulitzer back in 1921, I believe. And in this book, Wharton sort of like goes back and examines the same themes that she did in The House of Mirth and The Custom of the Country, where she sort of explores this particular stratum of society, this high society of New York City. And we're following a man named Newland Archer, who is part of the elite of New York, and is very pleased with himself because he has made what he considers a perfect match in May Welland, who is, part of another elite family. She's very mild-mannered, very nice. But things take a turn when May's cousin, Ellen, comes from Europe to the U.S., and she is just sort of separated from her husband there, and scandal surrounds her. And despite of this, Archer is drawn to her, and he ends up becoming pulled between these two women who represent two different things. May, who represents sort of like the status quo of the society that he has grown up in, and then Ellen, who is very much a stand-in for free-spiritedness and unconventionality. And I'm only this far in the book, but I'm really enjoying it so far, because I think Wharton does a good job of sort of digging deep, or like examining the psychology behind this type of society, understanding their motives behind their little actions that might seem ridiculous. Because high New York society has all these customs and little rules that, you'd think that only aristocracy would have, but, that American society, high American society, isn't immune from. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to finishing this. I wasn't blown away by Custom in the Country. I had to DNF it, but I have a good feeling about the Age of Innocence. So what am I planning on reading in the future or viewing in the future? And of course, with regards to reading, I will get to the last 2 books in the Books of Babel. I will get there. Definitely. They are pretty chunky, but that's not why I'm putting them off. I'm just petrified of what is going to happen in books 3 and 4. I am absolutely petrified. I kind of wish I could just get over the fear and just read the damn books, but I'm scared. Thank you once again, Josiah Bancroft, for that really nice anxiety spike you gave me at the end of Arm of the Sphinx. Love it. Love it. But I will get to them, for sure. But I will definitely be reading Washington Square by Henry James before any of those books. So in my last video, I kind of went on a tangent on how I don't really care for Henry James's writing or any of the books that I've read of his, but here I am, having bought another Henry James novel. Now, in that video, 2 separate people recommended Washington Square. So you know what? I'd give it a go. I'd give it a try. And it's quite short. So, who knows? This might be the one. This might be the one that I fall in love with. I was lucky to be able to find the Penguin English Library edition of this, in fact, because I believe this is part of the original run of the series, because it has the buttery cover and it does have the picture of Henry James, the author, on the inside. But yeah, really glad to have found the Penguin English Library edition of it, and I didn't realize how small it was. Similar to Edith Wharton's novels, this one sort of examines sort of the life of the influential, rich American family in the 19th century, the late 19th century. And we're following a young woman named Catherine Sloper, who comes from a sort of like a rich family, and she's being courted by this young man that her father is convinced is just a fortune hunter. And I believe her father ends up sort of like putting her to the test, like this cruel test, because she's very conflicted, because this man is sort of like the first one who has shown her any affection, but her father is hell-bent on teaching her a lesson about, the consequences of entertaining fortune hunters and so on and so forth. I don't know. That's all I know about the book so far, but that type of premise does interest me, for sure. And hopefully, I'll be able to get to this and I end up loving this, because I do really want to love a Henry James novel. Don't get me wrong. So, yeah, looking forward to Washington Square. Speaking of Henry James, the film that I want to get to, in fact, is The Innocents, which is based off of his novella, The Turn of the Screw, which I was not a fan of, but many people regard this as the best adaptation of that novella. So I am very much looking forward to it. I delve into this film much more in my Criterion haul, so you can check that one out. But yeah, I am just in the mood for some gothic horror and see what this film is all about. I'm very much looking forward, to seeing it. This psycho-sexually intensified adaptation. So yeah, I'm looking forward to The Innocents. It's definitely going to be the next film I see, for sure. Even though, I have an entire watch list later on. So yeah, that was the Then Now Later update. Just a little checkup on how I was reading and viewing these past few months. And, what my plans are in the future. And basically, for any new viewers, any new subscribers, that's the format of how these videos are basically. And if you have read any of these books, if you've seen any of these films, please let me know down in the comments. I would really like to hear your thoughts. And I'll check you out in the next video. Bye!